Welcome back to yet another episode of the How to Launch on Flex 83 series. In this video, we'll learn to create custom business logic. There are two ways to go about it. The first one is how to create lambdas. Lambdas are nothing but small snippets of code written in a scripting language. We would be using Python here. And the other one is writing custom code in any language and packing it as a container. So in this video, we would be covering how can we create a Lambda function and pull out data that was saved in the database. It's going to be a very basic function that we'll be writing, but that'll give us a fair understanding of how to write Lambda functions. So let's dive right into it. We'll click on Lambdas under the Developer Workbench section. Now, the very first thing that we would need is a PyMongo library that is not a part of the default Python distribution. To get the PyMongo library, there is an option on the platform to create runtimes. So let's see how we can create a Python runtime. Let's click on Runtime in the Developer Workbench tree. We'll click on Add New and provide an image name. This is the Docker image that would be created using which the fast function would run. For this example, we'll name the image and the tag is fast_demo. The interpreter will be Python and the dependency required would be the Py module. We'll hit Enter and click on the Create option. The system will take a few seconds to create the runtime and would show up as pending. Shortly, it will get to a push state, which means that the image is ready to be consumed and can be used in any Lambda function that needs a PyMongo library. And soon we'll see that the status would change to pushed. And now that it's pushed, this particular Docker image is available and ready to be consumed in a Lambda function. We'll get to the Lambda function's default code by clicking on it. We'll click on Add New. Now we'll configure the Lambda. We will add demo function as the name and pick the Docker image that we had created earlier. For the memory, we'll choose 128 MB. Now for this section, I have already written some code. And what this code does is it picks up data from the Mongo database and publishes it in this fast function. So we'll copy this over and we'll go back to our terminal window. This here is the first line that we write. And this is the client connection. We'll simply copy that and paste it here. And our client connection has been configured. If you pay attention to all the client connection details, they are from the previous video, where we created our own Mongo instance and we've picked the username, password, the host and other information from that instance. Now we'll connect to the Acme demo database we had created earlier. In the ETL video, we created the demo ETL pipeline collection which we'll add here. And finally, we will add this line of code which will give us the top 10 records from the database. We'll also remove this default line of code. Now the data would be passed on to this function which will format it as defined here and show it to us. This is where you can pause the video and look at the code snippet we've created in detail for better understanding. We'll wait for the Lambda to load after saving it. And once it loads, we'll try to run this function by clicking on Invoke. We'll then click on Tryout. Execute it. And in the results section, we should see the output. Seem like we have an error, so let's check the log. We'll go ahead and click on Edit to have a look at the code. We just had to add list here so that the data is returned in a list form. Now we'll go ahead and save. As we just saw, the system shows us the error in real time, which really comes in handy when debugging. So we'll click on Execute again, try to run it, and we should see the data here. And here we go. This is the same data that we saw in the data lake that was being saved in the database. So, using this small function, we just connected to the MongoDB and picked up information from the database. We can write all kinds of business logic here. For this example, we just picked up data from the database. But all your business logic can be written here because this is pure Python code. Anyone who knows how to code in Python can easily start writing business logic here. And this here was a Lambda function. What if this Lambda function was to be exposed as an API? So let's take a look at the API gateway under the Developer Workbench section. We'll click on API Gateway, and then on Add New. We'll create a new module with the name Demo Module. In the controller path for this example, let's just write Demo. And in the API path field, we'll type API. This here is the HTTP method, so we'll want it to be a GET call. And the function that we had created, we'll attach that function to the API gateway and save it. And it is that simple. So this was how you create an API. And once the API is created, You will see these APIs as Swagger endpoints that you can easily access. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.